Yeah, I can see you. You're in front of me.
I'm excited for him.
Quante Spearman is getting ready for his first day of 11th grade.
Because I just want to see my friend.
On the 141st day of the school year.
I'm just glad that he's not sitting here all day, not being productive.
Quante has physical disabilities. He attends Connections, a charter school in West Baltimore. With a 3.7 grade point average, he has thrived until this year.
Do you feel like you've lost a year of your life?
Yeah.
He missed the first 140 days because city schools could not provide him with a nurse, which is required under his federally mandated IEP, or Individualized Education Program.
Just in case, medically, if anything were to happen.
Without a nurse, Quante could not attend school in person, but he wasn't learning virtually either. His IEP, updated in January, confirms this, stating Quante has been unable to attend school in person this school year due to BCPSS's lack of nurses, and Connections is currently not able to provide a complete virtual learning program. In March, his mother requested his school records, expecting the most recent ones to be from spring 2021. The last time Quante was in school.
I wasn't even expecting to get a report card. It's nothing to put on one.
But this is his report card through March 1st, 2022. In the first semester of this school year, according to his report card, Quante passed 5 classes, including Modern World History and Spanish. In physics, he somehow earned a B-.
Do you remember taking physics?
No.
S. Brooks is also your teacher for performance. You don't know who that is?
Nope.
This report card says he passed Algebra 2 with a D. His teacher even wrote, Quante is a pleasure to teach, with his quality of work improving.
He shouldn't have any grades on there because he has not been to school.
But according to Quante's report card, he has been in school. He was marked present 33 and a half days in the first quarter, even though he was never in class. Not one day. His family says those attendance numbers are falsified.
Absolutely, he has not been. So how can he have any sort of, it should be however many days we're into the school year, that's how many days should be listed as absent.
The day after Project Baltimore spoke with this family, Quante's mother received a call. A nurse was now available. After 140 days,
Are you picking up Quante?
her son could go to school.
There you go.
But Project Baltimore wanted to know how a student could be marked present and receive grades when he wasn't in school. North Avenue declined an interview, saying CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises would not speak with us. Instead, we received a statement confirming Connections violated city schools' policies on attendance and grading. But the statement does not explain how this happened and how many students it happened to. So we went to a recent public event that Dr. Santelises was scheduled to attend. She never arrived, but 2 board members did.
Excuse me, board member?
After the event was over,
Well, my name's Chris Pabst. I'm with Fox 45 News.
they refused to answer our questions.
Here, but she didn't show up. Harassment. Ma'am, I would just like to ask you a question as a member of the Baltimore City School Board. Ma'am, you're a member of the school board. Can I just ask you a question about...
I said you are harassing me.
There is a young man named Quante Spearman who has been greatly impacted by what happened by his school.
I'm sorry, you're being disruptive to this event.
I don't think we're being disruptive. I think the event has happened. I'm not I'm just trying to ask you a question about a situation
that I said you harassed me.
As a school board member, why don't you speak with the media? Why won't you grant interviews? Isn't that part of your job?
Mr. Pabst, we've issued a statement around both of the matters you've asked me about this morning, and I would respectfully ask that you refer back to the statements that we've already issued. Thank you.
What makes you sad?
The fact that I can't see my friends and I can't get to do anything that the school do in person that I can't do.
I just want my son to know that I didn't fail him. I've done everything all his life that I could do to make sure he's good. And that's always going to be my fight.
But Quante's needs, similar to other students with IEPs, are not optional. IEPs are mandated by the federal government and funded by taxpayers. In Baltimore City Schools, the money goes into the special education budget, which in 2022 was $207 million. Funding for private duty nurses is part of that.
The money should be reimbursed because they didn't provide the service, so why should they get the money?
Glenn Carmen has been a registered nurse for 42 years. He tells Project Baltimore this is a bigger problem than one student. Carmen says he has 4 students with IEPs just at his school who are supposed to have nurses, but don't.
There needs to be something done, and just a slap on the wrist isn't an answer, because that's not going to stop them from doing it again or continuing to do it.
After Project Baltimore told Quante's story, 3 more families came forward with the same issue. All 4 students have IEPs. Each one missed a significant amount of school this past year because city schools could not provide a nurse. Yet all 4 students receive report cards with false grades and attendance. A former city principal, Angel Lewis, says she knows why.
You cannot leave a report card blank because then you don't get funding. And it is all about making sure that there's continuous funding.
Lewis tells Project Baltimore when she was a principal, she was instructed by the administration to never leave a report card blank, even if the student never shows up. Because according to Lewis, the Maryland State Department of Education may look at that report card and assume that student is not enrolled.
Isn't this falsifying a report card?
Absolutely.
It's falsifying a government record.
Absolutely.
City schools will not grant Fox 45 News an interview on this topic. So we went to a recent city council meeting where CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises was presenting her upcoming school budget.
A former city schools principal told us that your administration is instructing schools to not leave report cards blank and to add grades and attendance when the student didn't earn it because it could affect funding. Is that true?
So Chris, we are more than happy to continue to give you all of the answers to your questions like we normally do. More than happy to do that for you. We meet with families individually. More than happy to continue to do that. I've got to go in and make sure that I present to City Council.
Allegation. The allegation is that you're falsifying report cards.
If you continue to submit questions, we'll answer those.
You'll answer
calmly
that
and
question?
straight. Absolutely, Chris. Make sure you submit it. So good to see you.
City schools later sent us a statement saying the allegation is false.
Why did you want to remain anonymous?
This person, for years, has been a nurse in Baltimore City Schools.
Retaliation is a huge problem.
You're doing a good job.
Project Baltimore, last month, spoke with Darian Flood, a student at Pimlico Elementary in Northwest Baltimore.
Because I don't have nobody to play with.
Darian has epilepsy and requires a nurse to attend school in person. But for most of this year, he could not go to class because of a nursing shortage.
When caring for a student, nurses use clinical notes to log what happens throughout the day. They document any incidents, then turn in the paperwork as part of the payment process. But according to the nurse we interviewed, Darian's clinical notes raise some questions.
Nothing is as clean, as sanitized as 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12, 2:30. Again, the following day, 8, 10, 12, and 2:30. What this looks like is someone who copied and pasted basically the same thing over and over and over again and just changed the date.
Take a look at this note, dated December 10th for Darian. On that day, the private duty nurse logged 8 a.m. Student arrived at school. But this picture taken by Darian's mother on that same day, 17 minutes later, shows him hooked up to machines at Sinai Hospital after suffering a seizure. She also took this picture at 11:26 a.m., showing him still at the hospital. Yet the clinical notes say 10 a.m., student in cafeteria, stable. Then 12 p.m., student in class. If both of these are true, Darian was in two places at the same time.
Their manufactured documentation only used for billing purposes.
If paid in full, the 35 days logged by this nurse in caring for Darian would have cost taxpayers more than $10,000 when Davis says her son was not in school for most of those days.
The bottom line is the kids are secondary to funding. I would describe this situation as dire. And I would describe the situation as children are not getting the services that they are entitled to.
While city schools would not speak with Project Baltimore on this issue, other elected leaders did comment. Congressman Kwayise Nfume sent us this statement, calling for an investigation. I am angered when I hear of any credible allegations of disparate treatment in the Baltimore City school system. State, federal, and local education officials are obligated to look into this matter.
Saw your report and found that outrageous and unacceptable.
On a state level, Governor Larry Hogan is calling for further investigation.
But it's outrageous. If the facts that you've been putting out, the people that you've interviewed, if the IG finds that credible, I would imagine that might be passed on to criminal investigation as well.
Life has been extremely hard. All right, what's next?
Whitney Davis and her son Darian are barely getting by.
There are days where I go without eating so that I can feed my children.
For them, Baltimore and its school system are making life harder.
I felt like this would be some type of justice for Darian.
Federal education law is enforced by the states, so Davis filed a complaint with the Maryland State Department of Education, or MSDE, saying her son's federal education rights were violated by the school system. Following this investigation, the state found a violation occurred.
I think that it's absolutely disgusting.
In enforcing federal law, the state is requiring North Avenue to correct the violation and develop a plan to help Darian catch up in school. The state also required North Avenue to take steps to ensure that Pimlico Elementary better educate all students with disabilities so violations do not recur. City schools must also provide quarterly monitoring reports or chance the withholding of funds.
The school system did violate your son's rights. What should happen?
Honestly, I feel like somebody needs to go to jail because you're falsifying documents.
The state of Maryland called what happened to Darian a violation of federal law. City schools referred to what happened as a misstep.
To me, it feels like if I wanted to walk up and slap somebody, they did it for me.
Ebony Frisbee feels vindicated.
It was really relieving to get that. I'm like, I've been telling you, y'all were wrong.
Frisbee is referring to this, the results of Maryland State Department of Education investigations, which found Baltimore City Schools violated the federal education rights of 4 students, including her son. City schools must now provide corrective actions to not just better educate Shy, but all students with disabilities at Marianne Winterling.
They're well aware of what they're doing. They just don't care.
Since May, Project Baltimore has interviewed 5 families who say their children with disabilities were also cheated out of an education. 4 of those children had IEPs. All 4 filed disability complaints with the state. And in all 4 cases, the state found that city schools violated the federal education rights of each student.
For a $1.6 billion company to wrong so many families of their children's education, they owe us reparation for that. And more of us need to speak out to not only obtain it, but to also to give our kids a chance at an education.